Okay, Gabe, dance. Do your thing.
Well, I wouldn't do that because I don't like apples, remember? So
You can tell everybody this is your song. I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is when Gabe reads his book in the middle of an interview.
hello and welcome to the Neutral Cider Hotel, the podcast that delivers more hope and joy than a COVID vaccine. But, you know, like many people, I've been struggling a bit, I think it's fair to say, with some of the impacts of coronavirus and some of the isolation, and it's really tough. And that's why I've really enjoyed recording this show with my friends. It's been a fantastic light line. But also, I've been particularly buoyed because last night I had a record-breaking game of Scrabble, that fine board game with words. I scored 45... Sorry, no, what am I saying? I scored 85 points in one single go, and I'm not even lying. There's the absolute truth.
Oh,
and this is brought on a rather odious bout of smugness and competitiveness, which even Mr. Grant Hutchison would be jealous of, which has led me to see who amongst myself and my esteemed co-hosts whose name has the most Scrabble points. So let's see where we got. So here at the Neutral Cider Hotel, bringing you another fabulous show of anarchic cider shenanigans, we have Mr. Grant Hutchison, 23 points, Mr. Martyn Goodwin-Sharman, 38 points, and myself, Gabriel William James Cook, 46 points. I win. Thank you very much. Oh, I just had to get off my chest.
My name's got a David in the middle. I feel like you're wearing. Yeah. Hey, well, we may not have won Scrabble, but I think we found a better friend in each other than this knobhead.
And a very good evening to you too, Martyn. Thank you very much. How are we?
I'm good. I just want to take a stab and say, is the word you got that high score in triumvirate?
No.
I've been listening back and I've heard that word so many times. And then I was like, yeah, it's come up enough times that I was like, I've been sort of bingoing at home. Like, is he going to say it in this one?
Not in there. Do you know what? In the first couple that came up quite often were Daphne du Maurier novels, because I think you'd just done the audiobook, and I was like, is this something that Gabe's doing? He's gonna like try and slip this in every week, and or like like those the kind of Pixar Easter eggs you get. He's gonna have some kind of Daphne du Maurier reference.
I like the way you thought that was the book that he was going to try slide into this podcast every week. What book is it, Gabe? What book?
No, just a bout of smugness as a result. I think the word it was. I put the word Landers, Landers, which was onto a triple word score, and gave me an extra word, like it was prudes, I think, or something like that. But I used all 7 tiles in one go, which gave me the extra 50 points. I haven't done that in like 25 years. That was well 85 points in one go. Anyway, it's not all about me. For a change, Ciderology by Gabriel William James Cook. Please buy it now. Just in time for Christmas, hopefully, if you're still watching this, listening to this. So what's going on, Grant? You've had something quite momentous happening this week. What's been going on?
Moved house. I feel like I've spoken about this on almost every epised. It's been such a long draw. We celebrated when I got the house. I think we celebrated when I got the mortgage, and now I'm sat here in my new kitchen. And this is the good thing. In the flat where I lived before, I had to record this in the living room because it was the furthest away room from Sula, my daughter, who's 9 months old. So it was kind of like, right, that's where I had to be. Now the kitchen is that. So I'm right next to the fridge.
Yes.
So when we have to go and collect ciders, I can just get up. I can't quite do it without getting up. It's not. Although saying that, do you know what? A great thing is, I got a wine fridge from Aldi for 60 quid.
Oh, there we go.
Aye, I know,
filled with Twisted Tree.
Yeah. If you're listening, it was actually 72 quid with 6 bottles free. So if I mean, this was only 2 or 3 weeks ago. I know that kind of Aldi aisle changes quite frequently, but worth having a look. I can't vouch for it because it's not been plugged in or turned on yet. But there you go. Yeah. So my cider was probably the after Sula's room was probably the first thing that was unpacked and put away.
With moving in, what was your like first cider? Like I saw on my Instagram the other day when we moved up to Bristol, the first drink was the Mayflower. What was your one where you were like, fuck, I've not finished unpacking, but I've done enough boxes to sit down?
What did we have?
He's looking.
Oh, it was the Oliver's Pet Nat 2018 medium dry Pet Nat.
It's an Oliver's whitewash across the board.
Yeah.
So when you move house, astute listeners as well will be able to hear when your fridge turns on, because there'll be a light buzz in the background that producer Scott just loves hearing and can't get rid of.
Oh, bless.
What about you, Martyn?
So basically we're doing DIY in the house, and the front room now has a floor, so we're warm. But the bathroom, we got one of these 50s builds where the toilet and bathroom, 2 different rooms, and the guy who was here before took out the bath and put just a shower in. And if you know me, one of my biggest joys in life is a hot bath so that I come out looking like a lobster, a bath bomb, and a glass of wine. That's my state of like bliss. So I'm now counting down the days to that actually being a reality. But we're living in a fucking bomb site right now. This is like with the podcast, we record this on camera as well. But this is the one bit of the house where there's nothing like in the way. This whole room is a shithole. But other than that, just listening to Phoebe Bridges' Punisher album on loop. I listened to it when it came out and wasn't in the mood for it, and a little change in temperature, and oh my god, I've just been like weeping. Like, it's so fucking good. Unreal.
Nice. There you go. Well, I don't know what to follow. I'm just going to stop talking.
For me, it's like how people talk about Taylor Swift, literally like how they love her so much and like her country music and all of that. It's like that, but from just like this real fucking overly honest place. And every lyric in it is just, I was driving along like under the speed limit, just going, it's just fucking beautiful.
Cheers, awesome.
Well, let's carry on. So for me, I think I alluded to it in the at the top of the show that, you know, like a lot of people, feeling some of the challenge and the isolation away from family and friends a bit at the moment. So I've been able to try and combat that by doing lots of phone call interviews with people for my new book, Modern British Cider, coming next year. So that's just been really cool. It's just the importance to just keep talking to people, everybody, and it all helps with awesome research for a fantastic book. Hopefully, be a fantastic book. I'm really selling it. I'm nearly.
I must. My phone must have been on silent.
Well, hang on. The conversations haven't finished yet. We're early days.
Okay.
Early days. Don't worry.
Put me down for a game.
I'll put you down for a game. Yeah. What side of games?
1-on-1. Fucking hell.
Oh, look at that. I think it's time for the news. Right, now time for the news here at Neutral Cider Hotel. Martyn, what have you been noticing via the media this week?
Well, I saw a post on Malt Review, Cider Communication, We Need to Talk, that basically goes into kind of the imposter syndrome. I think a lot of people in, especially alcohol that I know, talk about, written by Adam Wells. And it is just, honestly, me and my wife read it, like at the same time, different phones, and we're just like, this is fucking, yeah, I've not read anything like that I've connected to in alcohol quite like that. And I just thought it was a really interesting piece. I know I'll put it in the show notes, but I'm guessing a lot of people that listen to this have already read it, but I've seen a lot of people react to it in the same way that I did. And I reached out to him and said, like, mate, if you want to chat or anything at any time, like, I'd love to have a cider with you. Cause it was just, a proper good, well articulated, honest discussion within the drinks industry. So hats off there to that. Yeah,
fair play. It's always challenging to admit these things, and I certainly get it. Still, I was utterly terrified about bringing out the book because it just lays you entirely bare. There's nowhere to hide, and maybe because there's something about cider. Maybe because it's young and it's nascent, relatively speaking, to those other drinks industries, that there isn't this big network yet. Although it really does feel like it's growing. And actually, I think maybe the challenges of 2020 have almost catalyzed and hastened some of this growing kind of community, and more on the advocacy side of things. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens sort of next year going forward. So I can certainly empathize with it. Good on Adam for saying it, and he's putting out some great work. And it's when you put your heart into something, somebody's always going to say something that is gonna hurt. It's gonna cut deep if they disagree or challenge with what you're saying. The very first review of, I think it was an excerpt from my book, went out into some spurious North American publication, and I had put in the book about wassailing that it was a traditional midwinter. Is it the New Year's pagan New Year's Eve ceremony? And the very, very first email that I ever got from somebody who'd read something about the book was to say, I'm actually a pagan journalist, and what you said was wrong. And it crushed me a little bit. But what are you going to do? You can't.
Pagan journalist is definitely a band name. I am taking that, because that is. Yeah, but I was going back over like old posts, looking at like when I'd last had cider sort of thing. I've just had like the little Pomona Art of Darkness, and I've had like every batch of it. So I was just going back, and I just noticed how almost the reverse of this, like how scared I was to even like say things I tasted or felt, because it felt like, one, it's all subjective, but you're putting yourself out there when you say something even as silly as like, oh, this tastes like strawberries. You're like, does it though? And it especially, I was working in a bottle shop that had like a really killer wine selection, and it felt like it wasn't as good as wine. So it can't really taste like that. And it's just, I've read it back. It's like a bit sad to see yourself like be afraid to get a bit naked. Do you know what I mean? So
I was going to say that with my experience with it is the kind of the undervaluing of it. And that's done, and unfortunately, that's done right from the source. That's done from cider makers. Yeah, straight, apologizing for the price that their product is, thinking that sorry, it's so much, it's going to be hard to sell. Like, it is what it is, because the work that's gone into it, the skill that's gone into it, the presentation that's gone into it, it's all worthwhile, and your skill and knowledge and craft is worthy of the price tag that's on it. That's just that's it. That's the bottom line, and I've come across it a lot in cider. I don't have experience of other industries. I don't know if you have a comment on the beer industry in that regard, Martyn, but certainly with cider, it feels like, and maybe it's because a lot of makers are placing themselves alongside wine, and that they have to feel like, oh, well, it's not as strong ABV, so it shouldn't be as much, or I don't know. But I think I do think that's shifting, it's changing. But that's my experience of it is the kind of going into market and makers, even makers who are extremely proud of what they've done and they know how good it is and how great it is, are still like, it's going to be 15 quid or 20 quid on the shelves. You're like, well, fine, that is that's what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, it's looking at it, and I was mentioning like the subjective element of tasting, but you spoke about in an earlier episode, we were talking about the judging contest that we did, and you said, I don't even want to say judge because like they're all good. Like it's not it's weird to attribute like in a drink of like, is it the best? It's like, even if it isn't, it's just wonderful to be there kind of thing. But with the beer side of it, like you're saying, a comment on it, I think beer benefits from, especially like small craft breweries, they benefited early on in the scene from pubs. It's hard for pubs to kind of take cider lines, whereas beer lines, you're just making a craft beer line instead, and you can give people tasters of it. Whereas the ciders that we love, celebrate, and the ones that maybe are 15 and 20 quid, it's a single serving, one package. So it's a hard ask, isn't it? So I think a lot of people, like saying, makers get the timid kind of cold feet about it. And it's like, we're actually at a point now where I haven't had a bad cider in nearly a year. Like genuinely, like, yeah. It's the fucking best time to be drinking the stuff.
I tell you what, there's some really interesting themes that have come out through some of the interviews and research that I've done for Modern British Cider, coming soon. And one of them is around a kind of an almost tall poppy syndrome. There is a huge number of people, it would seem, that almost actively want to shoot down people who talk about their product with pride and passion and a depth of language. Maybe they utilize certain terms to try and distinguish their products, like fine, and utilize different kind of packaging types or innovation in terms of production, like keg conditions. There's a huge number of people within kind of cider community who shoot that down, it almost seems, because it's the phrase "the emperor's new clothes" has come around in terms of like, people sort of, somebody's proclaiming something, but people aren't are too scared to say, I think that's rubbish. They'll just sort of run along with it anyway. And yeah, the term "smoke and mirrors," and there's almost like a fear that of really trying to upweight the value perception of something by the way that you talk about it. And I'm still getting my head around exactly where that sort of stems from. That I think for some people innately cider needs to be something that is if not cheap, but something that is simple and easily accessible and doesn't have to be convoluted. And it doesn't have to be, but just because it can be doesn't mean that it shouldn't, I suppose. So.
Well, guys, anything cheery and positive that we want to talk about?
Yeah, sorry, that was a touch doom and gloom there.
It was good though. Well, I'm glad, but
let's.
I really felt like Jesus. I need a drink, and I was like, listeners at home, we'll change the subject.
Well, this will cheer you up. Grant and I both picked up on this. We read in the Teesside Gazette this week, one of my favourite headlines of the year. Here it goes: cider, swords, and sweets laced with drugs. The remarkable haul from police raid on quiet street. Everybody,
if some cider maker doesn't get that as a name, cider, swords, and sweets laced with drugs, Petnat, Dabnet, on fucking some lees, mate, that's it.
Yeah, quiet Lees.
officers found an estimated 120 grams worth of cannabis, sweets infused with cannabis, illegal tobacco products, samurai swords, and 30 cases of allegedly stolen Vixen cider. I'm not sure it's allegedly stolen. That was the only source of Vixen cider in the country. But I just love the fact that it was in.
Well, they didn't own it and they took it, so allegedly.
Okay, that's true. So everybody, I'm not quite sure what happens to the cider once it's been confiscated. Is it allowed to be? I suppose it goes back to whoever it was stolen from in the first place. But we just thought that you would all be really, really pleased to hear that the cider has been recovered and the swords,
yes,
and the
and the gummies,
the cannabis laced gummies.
Jesus,
if you're
Christ.
missing any swords, give Middlesbrough police a call on 0800 555 111, because the Vixen cider has been given back to its rightful owner, but the swords maybe still in limbo.
I hate to hammer this home, Grant, but you just said about swords with the enthusiasm of someone who's had too many cannabis gummies.
Cannabis laced sweets.
Oh my god!
Well, there we go, ladies and gents. It's always good to finish on a I was going to say on a high note.
Oh yeah.
That was this week's news. Now it's time for our interview. So now it's time for the interview, and checking into the Neutral Cider Hotel tonight is someone on the front line of global cider advocacy as a member of the Cider Scene crew, and especially through her own Instagram page, A Girl with the Cider Review. Recently, the recipient of some rather misogynistic trolling on Twitter in typical style, our guest has utilized this challenging event to create continued positivity in the cider world. Everyone, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Tasmine Fraser.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks so much for being with us. I mean, did you say this is your first podcast?
First podcast ever.
Amazing.
At the hotel.
Amazing.
Start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah, well, that's...
I know, I'm kind of nervous now.
No need to be nervous at all. You are, I suspect, quite more of a social media and online professional when it comes to cider than we are. We're still learning our craft because you've been doing your thing with A Girl with the Cider Review and with Cider Scene for a wee while now, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But do you know what? We're gonna jump straight into the sort of the kind of the hot topic and one of the main reasons why we wanted to bring you onto the show now. There was an incident, gosh, it's a week ago, and it seems like a long time ago because a lot has happened in the time since, whereby a gentleman in the UK created a post utilizing imagery from yourself and some of your contemporaries, female cider advocates, I think all North American based, in a most inappropriate fashion. And it was picked upon by all of us really kind of quickly, and Martyn immediately proposed it as a news item to go in. We talk about a couple of things that are pertinent in the news, and if there had just been the incident, that might have been where it remained. But it was because of the vociferousness and the speed of the response, and especially the way that you, in the space of 24 hours, you turned it on its head. And it does seem to be something that you like to do in terms of this, trying to be positive and taking something out of it and taking control. And so the No Apologies campaign and your response to this. Tell us what's happened and what you're doing and how you're driving this thing.
All right. Yeah. So as you all know, and what everyone's been seeing online is that what happened was there was a Twitter post that I came across last week. And like you said, by a supposed member of the cider community in the UK, who'd posted a photo of myself and some of my cider friends. We were in like pictures like at the beach, like wearing swimsuits as normal people do at the beach. That's what I thought anyways. I mean, I could have worn my snow pants, but I decided against that. But yeah, so I saw that post and it was insinuating that, you know, that's how we as women in the cider industry get attention and get, you know, partnerships with communities, and how we promote cider with just by, you know, using our bodies, and that we're nothing more than that, and that we're not hardworking, and that we don't have many accomplishments. And so when I saw that post, I was like immediately kind of irritated. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, first of all, because this was someone that had followed me for a while. Actually, we haven't had much contact with each other, but they followed me for a while. I've never had any interactions really with them in a negative way. But then when I saw that, I let my friends know about what had happened. And I started wondering, like, you know, what can I do with this? Because this is something that women face not only in the cider and beer and drink world, but in everyday life as well. And this is a community that I know a lot of us feel safe and included. And this is not something that I want here. This is something that, you know, is a escape, for lack of a better term, from, you know, everyday life. And it's something that makes me feel happy, and I can express my passion for cider through it. And I know that myself, I've worked super hard to grow my account and network and connect with people. And I know that the other ladies have too. So it was really disrespectful to see something like that. So I started thinking, you know, this is a negative thing, but what can we do with this? Because I know that this is probably not the first time something like this has happened. But I wanted to change it into something positive that would bring us closer as a community and help others learn that, you know, may not exactly understand why this post wasn't okay. Because, you know, we're not a joke in the community. We are passionate, and we deserve the respect that, you know, everyone else gets, because, you know, we work for it. So I created this project, which is the trending thing that you're probably all seeing, and that I can't even turn on my phone without seeing it either, and it makes me super proud. But it's been very, very overwhelming as well. So I've had to take some time to breathe from it. But it's called the No Apologies Project. But the word apple is in it, as you've noticed, just to make it more tailored to the scene.
Nice.
I'm a lover of puns, so I had to get it in there. I thought it was
So
perfect.
is Grant.
Perfect. I'll probably throw some more in there, but actually, I have a pun sitting right beside me here, which is the cider.
Oh,
I brought my cider, which is also a pun.
I was going to ask you about that later on. Actually, I was going to ask you about that.
I'll bring it back.
We'll bring it back.
Don't worry, it'll be back
pun
again. But
but
yeah,
tell us about the No Apologies. Tell us about that, and what's the response been? What were you expecting when you launched it?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be like this, to be honest. I wasn't expecting the scale of it and the interest and the support that I received, all the positive support. What I had intended to do with it was to, you know, bring attention to this type of inappropriate behavior in the industry and change, you know, these kind of things and stop them from happening. So I wanted to educate others. I wanted to get people on board. So what I did was I created this project. Privately, I had messaged a bunch of women who wanted to get involved that were in the cider drink world. And what we are doing right now is we are all posting pictures because we thought it was appropriate to post photos in response to something about photos, just as kind of to you know, relate to that. But we are all posting photos where we're comfortable, happy, representing ourselves, to show that we're proud of who we are, and we're not going to take this kind of behavior here. And just to bring people closer and share a positive message. And that's kind of what we're doing, celebrating those accomplishments in the cider community we've seen a bunch of amazing posts. We even have some men on board. I've seen some great photos that totally made my day. And it's nice to have that support as well from people who understand also that this isn't okay. And, it shouldn't always be for, women to stand up for themselves. It's, we need to have people on our side too. And we don't always have to be defending ourselves, and we shouldn't have to in 2020, 2021. But it seems that there are still, some opinions that remain that are not the most welcome.
And genuinely, like, I think I love the campaign. It's amazing response. You could have done something totally different, and gone back with the same negativity or some kind of angry bite, and you didn't, and you turned it into something great, and it's so good. And it makes me so proud to be part of the cider community that you're, you and so many other great women are at the front of, and it's excellent. It's hats off to you. I would have just been like, fuck you.
I mean, I felt it, but I mean, it's not going to get the response or the change you want if you react out of anger. And it just makes people look even more dumb if you don't react the same way that they are. So, Totally,
you've made him look like you've made him look like the prick that he is.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to us anymore. Yeah. He's blocked like all of us.
Well, that's it. He's gone like private.
You killed it. You killed it with such kindness to such a point where I think a lot of this kind of sexism and any of those kind of prejudices exist because it's a social norm and it's like hard to challenge it. Mm-hmm. So knowing that he's now he has to acknowledge it and acknowledge that everyone in the industry that he's in knows he has to do it as well.
Yeah.
So the social contract is like, guys, it ain't cool. And that's literally your writing has done that, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Yeah.
And I wonder, it's really hard to say because cider feels in many ways that it's quite a young industry, or let's say that this modern and contemporary wave of cider is quite young. And so this seems to be like the first major instance. I'm sure I'm not saying that it's the first instance of any of instances like this, but it's one that was really sort of highlighted and where the community got together so quickly and so fast. There's some to condemn it. It's rightly so. It was really fantastic to see that. But I wonder whether, Martyn has got a huge amount of experience from craft beer industry, which has a such a great level of heritage to it, and also bigger and broader in volume, etc. Martyn, are there? How do you think that sort of cider relates to beer in this context, and is cider ahead of the game, or is it there's so many more sort of complexity and layers to this thing?
Well, I think genuinely, one thing I'll say from personal experience, my wife and I both love going to cider events together, and she loved the cider salon and said that she didn't feel anything like that when she went to beer events, and it's always that kind of discomfort, and that might be her bringing her own thing to it, but she said, I've never felt out of place with cider. So seeing this sort of blanket objectification from an arsehole just felt like it didn't fit it for me. But I think with craft beer, it had a bigger jump off point. So because it was earlier, it probably suffered all of these things in the same magnitude and everything, and the response was probably trickled and then quicker. But since when I was properly in craft beer, it felt immediately like this was called out. But I think, like you're saying, Gabe, because cider is such a small bubble to a lot of us that are into it, and like following all the women that he posted as well, it's like when something like this happens, it seems more cataclysmic because it's a huge proportion of the industry rather than just like this person at this event. It felt like this guy has objectified a group of women who don't objectify themselves. If you look at, your profile is a great example. You do it so much for cider, so much teaching, talks and everything. Like what inspires you, Taz, to kind of not just take a photo of yourself, but to like promote cider?
Yeah, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I know that, a lot of us in this community that, promote and talk about cider, we're considered, I guess you would say, influencers.
Yeah.
That's a big term that, people throw around. And I know that many people who, have tons of followers, huge following, things like that are considered influencers, but there are small ones as well. But what I've been finding is, with the increase in following, sometimes, you'll promote whatever, and it's not about the story anymore or the passion, or you don't believe in what you're promoting. And that's something that I really stand behind when I started my account, and I still do. I hold the same values. I promote things that I believe in, especially when I do partnerships. I don't partner with companies unless I believe in their product and I actually like it, and that we share the same values like passion, creativity, honesty, those type of things. And, of course, if it tastes great, that's even better. But,
Quite right.
And I just, I started it out as something fun. I like to add the fun, just personal touch to it, because my videos are weird, I'm weird, it's just who I am. And I accept that, and it seems to have attracted an audience that likes that kind of thing and likes who I am. And I'm not going to change that just because, I'm on the internet and I'm gaining a following. So I continue to be passionate that way about it and try to have that in everything that I post.
Bravo! What a fantastic response. Well said. So Taz, you do lots of different things, and you do a fantastic series of interviews. It was a sort of funny timing. You interviewed me on your show just a couple of weeks ago,
I watched it.
Yes,
which was really good fun. What a hoot! And no, that was a genuinely meant hoot. That wasn't
such a British self response. Oh, interviewing me must have been a hoot in Canada, eh? Gabe.
Moving swiftly on. Tell us a little bit about the Canadian cider scene, because I know that Ontario's got loads of producers, and I know that it's a big province, so that covers about 5 times the size of the UK probably. But you've got some great producers. So what are some of the sort of styles and types of ciders that are coming out from your part of the world?
Yeah, are there any specific makers that you like, that you're excited about, that you always seek out whatever they've got coming out?
Yeah, there are quite a few, and due to COVID and everything, I've had lots of time to explore Ontario cideries because there's been nowhere to go. So.
Yes,
but I actually fell more in love with Ontario cideries, so it was actually a great experience for me. And this summer, there are a bunch of places that I went. There's one cidery that, in the beginning, they supported me, and I always go back to their ciders. They're called Thornbury. They're located in a small town called Collingwood in Ontario. They have quite a few ciders now. The first one I ever tried was their just normal apple cider, but they don't heavily carbonate their ciders. So that's kind of something that I like, because it's hard to, drink more than one if your whole throat's full of bubbles.
Yes.
So,
could not agree more. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that one I really liked, but they have a cranberry one that's amazing, especially this time of year. It's a nice, I'd say seasonal one, but now they have it all year round. And just they have a lot of passion behind what they do, and I was able to speak with some of the managers, cider makers, to kind of learn a bit about it. And that's one place that I do always go back to, but now I'm learning more about the smaller companies. There's a cider company called Revel Cider. They're in another small town called Guelph, and they are super creative with their ciders, and they're I guess cidery is at the back of a warehouse. That's where they have it. And it's really cool. And they're doing a lot for the cider community right now here in Ontario.
Yeah, they're doing fruit wines and things as well, right?
Yeah.
And herb, they're adding herb adjuncts.
Yeah, really
and
interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. I really like the look of their stuff. Hopefully, you can get some over here at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
He's always on the lookout for the next. He's always on the lookout for the next business opportunity. That's right.
Well, that's why I'm going to ask you. That's why I'm going to ask you about your cider, Taz. I'll sell it for you if you send me that.
I think it needs to be perfected a bit more, or a lot.
Modesty. Tell us about it. Like what got that ball rolling? Like how did you get your own cider?
Oh man, it's been something I've wanted to do for a while, but it's actually surprisingly I managed so many different things organizing it in my life, but that's been the one I've procrastinated the longest. I don't know what that's about, probably because I was worried that it would be horrible, but it actually wasn't that bad. But it just, like, I needed the time to do it, and I knew it would be a process. So I started that November. I was given a cider kit to try it out, see if I could do it. So then I can get more into it if it went okay. So the kit makes 3 batches. The first one, I just made like a normal apple one. I tried to follow all the instructions, except the instructions did not help me at all. And I ended up on the internet and just reading books. And
yes.
But this is it anyways. I made labels to make myself feel better if it turned out to be trash. But it's called Apple of My Eye.
Yes.
I had to, make it kind of funny. And I found this cup recently that also says Apple of My Eye on it. So I had to buy it just for this cider specifically. And this is the first time I'm showing it off. So you get to see it live. But
Neutral Cider Hotel exclusive.
I know. Don't tell anyone. I haven't revealed it yet. It's just a lightly carbonated dry cider, but the alcohol content is really low. It's like about 2.93%. So that's something that I have to figure out because it's very, very low. So
and what did you use? Did you use juice or
so
did you pick apples?
I just used apple juice. So there was like specifications for it. So it had to be like 100% natural, no preservatives, things like that. So I had to hunt one down, which was hard. But yeah, I just used juice for the first time. Although I'd love to get an apple press and do that in the living room.
As soon as you do it though, you'll go, oh fuck, I wish I could just buy the juice in. Like I know. Especially on the small scale when you're doing it, it's like the juice is worth the squeeze in like all the ways, but my God, yes, it is a messy fucking process on a small scale.
Oh yes.
Just find someone else who's already got the equipment and just borrow it, use it, go to their place. Yeah, definitely.
All right, we're landing the plane in that apple orchard.
There we go. Nice.
Time to buckle up, everybody.
Oh, that was so
fantastic. Good. Moving swiftly on. I first had the opportunity to meet you actually in New Zealand at the New Zealand Cider Festival 2 years ago, which was well, I was going to say it was a hoot, but apparently I can't say that. It was a wonderful event. And are there any other cider places around the world that you haven't had the chance to go to yet that you would love to sort of try and go and visit when the world kind of opens up and it's we're able to easily?
Yeah, there are a couple places I've been looking into. I know in Norway and Sweden, there's a bunch of cider places I'd love to see. But I also have been planning a trip across the United States to visit ciders over there. So close, but yet so far because our borders have been closed for months now. So haven't been able to, but that would be something I'd love to do. And there's so many people that I want to meet that I've only met online at this point, and even cideries that have been gracious enough to come on my chats, and I've been able to speak with cider makers, and I'd love to meet them. They have a lot of cool creative flavors, and so those would be the 2 things so far.
Nice. Yeah, there's definitely, I've had the opportunity to go to Norway, and there is a really, really cool, small, but some really exquisite, sort of really fresh, really sort of minerally kind of very white wine-esque ciders coming out of there. So yeah, some real cool stuff. So what's next on your agenda? You're doing a lot of things at the moment, and things are moving fast. Are there any other sort of plans or projects that you've got in the pipeline?
Yeah, so right now I'm trying to, navigate this first part of the No Apologies project. So the posts are going to continue to come in for that because it only started yesterday. That's when I said, I was going to lead off the project with my photo and caption, etc. And then everyone from then can post whenever they want to, continue that movement. But besides that, of course, there are other parts to it. So I have a partnership with a local company. We're hoping to get shirts done actually for the movement with the hashtag on it. And proceeds for that are going to go to a local charity to support women who have experienced sexual or any sort of violence. And I thought that that'd be appropriate. So I'm hoping to get that in motion as part of it. And then there are a couple other things, but I'll leave those for a surprise. But they involve some videos and some cool stuff. But it's just a lot about right now getting that word out. So that would be it for now with the project. But besides that, I have another Cider and Life chat coming up this week and a couple of other fun posts as well.
Just looking at the whole situation and how it unfolded, I think it's commendable to not just have just rolled over and just either ignored it or just internalized it, because it's such a personal and immediate thing as well. And I think it's obviously harder for us to appreciate it as three guys, but it's a weird one where you're clearly a lovely human being who's doing wonders for the industry. And I think it's horrible that someone's taken something and kind of dehumanized it and completely removed the personality and the informed person behind that. But yeah, I just wanted to say kudos on actually not only coming back, but making something wonderful out of it and actually helping to inspire everyone and do something wonderful with it. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I hope to keep the momentum going of it. So we'll see how it progresses in the next couple days, weeks, etc.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Amazing. So Taz, for anybody who is listening in and wants to learn more about the No Apologies project and for your wider work in general, where should they head to?
So if you want to learn more about the No Apologies project, you can find out most of the information on my Instagram. So that'd be Girl with a Cider Review on Instagram. I'm also Girl with a Cider Review on Facebook. It's all there as well. And most of it is on Twitter. I am GWA Cider Review because it's too long to fit on Twitter. But that's where you can find all the information. If you want to be part of the project, you can send me a message on Instagram and I'll send you all the information. But mostly from the posts, and especially mine, you can find out most of it there.
Fantastic. Taz, thank you so much for spending time to having a chat to us today. Visiting us here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. We hope that your room was nice and clean. And, in your capacity as fantastic Cider airline pilot with your fabulous headphones on there, maybe you'll bring some groups of tourists over here one day as well to spend time at the hotel.
Anyway. I hope so.
Thank you so much, and keep on doing your thing for Cider. You are doing an amazing thing, and we're really proud of you. And you're a really strong and important voice for our thing. So just don't stop. So, all right.
Thanks so much for having me.
No worries. All the best.
Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, Taz.
Bye. Cheers.
Right. Now at the Neutral Cider Hotel, we get to try some cider. It's our favourite part of the show. Well, actually, maybe not our favourite part of the show. It's one of our favourite parts of the show. It's the part where we get to legitimately drink some cider, and that's the most important thing. It's our tasting session. Martyn, tell us, what are we drinking this week, my friend?
So they were our first guest on the show and good friends of all of ours, actually, but it's a Little Pomona. And they've actually brought the Beaujolais buzz of wine to the cider scene with this one. It's called Disco Nouveau. So Discovery apples, single variety, hence the disco. And it was pressed on the 26th of August, which, to give people an idea who probably on the fringes of cider or don't know much about the making, that's like the earliest possible. It's almost like an insane date to be pressing on, but that allowed them to have a wild ferment and bottle it pet nat and be essentially the first bottling of this year's harvest. And I drank mine before pressing it even finished, and I think pressing's finished just now as we're drinking this. But the question is it hype? Is it method before the production, or does this have a place bringing that wine buzz into the craft and fine cider movement? It was interesting with this because I wasn't part of the Little Pomona Club where they announced it and launched it, but I got it quite early on. But it felt like a real buzz quick thing in cider. Like this, I was like, oh shit, I have to drink that this week.
Yeah, I'm sold out of it now. The cases that I got, which with Little Pomona tends to happen fairly rapidly anyway. But this, it's a clever thing to do, as well as an interesting exploration for cider. It's a clever kind of ploy to get people to buy something and get people to buy it quickly. But yeah, it's all this. My stock is gone.
Well, the question is always like, is a product justified its place? Or like a lot of, in craft beer especially, there's been a conversation in the last 3 years of essentially brewing the same IPA with different hops and giving it a new name with a new label, and that kind of forced you kind of force demand and choke the supply in essence. Instead of brewing one big IPA over like say 50 barrels, you've got 50 single barrel versions of the same thing. But a thing that was immediately noticeable with this is the use of the Discovery apple. So Hawks, who we had on last week, my last cider from them was the Discovery that they've got. But it's not a variety I've seen Little Pomona use. So this immediately stands out in their range as well as something different. It isn't just like the same tat with a different label, is it really?
No, it's an entirely different product being made in an entirely different way. Discovery, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a dessert apple variety. It's low on tannin. It's high on aromatics. That's intensity. These really sort of floral, almost sort of perfumed aromatics that you can get from the apple and translating into the cider. And in the cider world, let's say certainly from the sort of more classic West Country cider world, that old tradition. There was most ciders, because those drinks have got a lot of tannin. The old saying is, you've got to allow them time to mature. You kind of got to give them 6 months at least. But there was one cider apple variety called the Morgan Sweet, which comes to fruition in late August. Something about the fact that it's still quite warm, and also because those trees, those apples, apparently are full of nitrogen that the yeast feed on, so fermentation is really quick. And so historically, that was a cider that would be drunk by Christmas time. And so this very much sort of sits into that idea and that concept. What's been interesting to note from some of the commentary about this product coming into the marketplace, and one or two others that have done the same thing, is again, I don't understand it, is a bit of a poo-pooing of the products and of saying, this has all been done before, but just, it's a new name and an extra kind of 10 quid. And, stay away from the Nouveau. That was something rubbish back then. And I just don't understand that's wrong. That's not right. You shouldn't have done that. You can't do this. Why, rather than as we're going to do tonight, we're going to say what we like about it, and we're going to say what we don't like about it. But I certainly I enjoyed the endeavor to try something fun that looks different, that might engage people. That's got to be a good thing. So stop the poo-pooing, people, please. Well,
ironically, the poo-pooing is done by people who are making cider that has high levels of SO. So
poo-poo. So the irony.
Tushy.
What are we getting then?
For me, the thing that strikes me most is like I wrote about it when I tried it last week, but I've said so much in this last year of like tang fastics and like sour sweets, and this is like berries, strawberries, Tangfastics, apple flesh. It's got that same kind of like scully kind of biting into an apple aroma. It's just gorgeous on the nose. Absolutely, fucking gorgeous.
It smells like an apple mill. You know, like it's the apples have just gone through the scratter, so you're getting that. You know, it's not sort of, you know, it's not macerated for a long time. It's still quite fresh, but it's definitely flesh. And apple skin together. You know, you've got that kind of bite. And yeah, I'm same as you, Martyn. I feel like I've, you know, that kind of Tangfastic sherbety thing that I've spoken about so many, almost every cider I've had this year. It seems to be a common.
For our listeners in North America, what are Tangfastics?
Oh yeah, of course.
Tangfastics are a sour sweet in the UK, and they're covered in that kind of like crystallized sugar, and they have that real puckering acidity, but they also smell like synthetic fruit, so that kind of like hard candy smell, but they're gummy sweets. So it's like juvenile sweet shop aroma. But I think the link here as well, and like Grant and I are saying, we've had it a lot this year. A lot has been said of, and it links to the wine conversation, the push towards pet nats and using like that to work in cider. So a lot of cider makers are making pet nats with apple varieties that they wouldn't have been using necessarily for their still tannic ciders. So when cider makers that we like have used them, they've all got a similar kind of sweet shop aroma, it seems. That's what I would pick out.
Yeah, I also want to mention the way it looks as well, because I think it looks beautiful, and it's still Discovery. Although yours, Martyn, looks the same color as your face, which is sort of pale and sallow. But it's I think it's actually got. Sorry, just when you held it up there, I was like, "Is that Martyn's face or is that a cider?" Can't tell.
Listeners at home will hear the tears gently rolling down my face, my porcelain cheeks. You're just literally going like, "Oh, look, Martyn, you fucking ginger idiot. Like, what? What have I done?"
It actually has a sort of Discovery are red, sort of red, or not fully red fleshed, but it has a slightly pink hue. It's cloudy. It looks like freshly pressed apple juice. It's got, for anyone that wants the poetry, it has the exact same tone as a pale ginger man's skin after it's been blushed with joy and humor of recording a podcast with his friends for the last 2 hours, who then rib on him. Okay, now. No, but it's got that like orangey pinky hue, isn't it? It's like, and especially it's not opaque at all. Wait, actually, what? It's completely opaque.
That's the one. I was like, it's not opaque at all.
It's completely opaque.
There's a fairly decent amount of sediment has been trapped in the bottom because of the fact that it's been done pet nat, which once again is whereby you're finishing the first fermentation in the bottle, so you're going to get some fairly chunky bits, which may be off-putting for some people. For those who are sort of more fan of the natural wine in this thing, probably less so. For me, it's made with a lot of skill, a lot of clear intention as to how it's supposed to be done, and it is youthful, bright, vibrant, and fun. Part of that, there is a character which I can taste in here, which I taste in newly fermented ciders that I have made, whether it's small scale or large, which is a slight pencil shavings character, which is a really common. There will be some sort of technical name for it that I don't know. But it remains in fairly recently fermented cider, and I pick up a bit of it. But the crucial thing is that actually that there is, I think, is in a proportion that it's adding some real extra sort of grunt and grippiness, because Discovery that has been sort of matured for quite a long time can often be quite light and lean and lacking some intensity. And boy, this is not lacking in intensity at all. It's got a real sort of grippiness and a slight rough around the edge nature to it, which for me makes it all the more pleasurable drink.
Well, like it's an odd one. Like I never had this with like beer or wine where you talk about where it is in your mouth, but with cider, I always talk about like how it is on the teeth and everything. But it feels super tannic, even though it isn't. Just right on the front, behind my front teeth, there's like a dry patch there, right where my tongue touches. It just feels so grippy, and like this, it's so light, and I keep chasing it. That this is almost criminally easy to drink, and it might not be for everyone, but for me, I'm like loving it quite a bit.
Yeah, I love it. Have we got any cons, guys? Have we got
my first con is that it's pretty much all fucking gone. So it is a good and a bad thing. Like this, I was talking about it in beer, where like it's the forced sort of choke on the market kind of thing, and you ramp up the supply, ramp up the demand, and kind of choke the supply. And I'm not criticizing them for that. I think you only get a certain amount of apples of that, and they put out what they've made. But the excitement that this has generated is immediately then met with disappointment when people can't get it in their bottle shop.
But do you think that, this is sort of, I guess, the first year of this, and to test it out like that, but then I guess that with Beaujolais, it's this similar thing as well, isn't it? It's once it's gone, but it happens every year.
Yeah, the understanding with that is that always happens in wine. Let's put it this way. I'm on one of the top 4 UK cider podcasts, yeah? And I was late to this. So it's like, it becomes that kind of like, how short is short. And I like the excitement, but I think for a lot of people listening in, that I've got a message yesterday about the Derrida, because someone's listening to that episode going like, where can I fucking buy it? So when they get to this episode, they're going to go, that sold out when it came out.
Well, yeah. But then, that I guess that's part of the excitement of it, isn't it? And maybe it's something that, like you said, I think you mentioned, Gabe, that a couple of other makers did the same, and with Discovery as well. And maybe is that to do with the early harvest of that variety?
Yeah, I think it's because it's one of the earlier varieties, but also maybe the those intense aromatics that do come from it. We've had that from Sam Nightingale, his wild disco in the past, a little bit more aged, but still with incredible, aromatics and sort of construct on there. So Discovery, partly because of the new season, but partly because of what it can bring. I suppose what we could say is that although it is on an incredibly small volume run, because of the popularity of it, maybe it'll give confidence for James and Susanna or other cider makers to make it, or to continue to make it, or to make more of it, and so it can become a little bit more of a thing. And
also 2021 they're going to roll out Roger Wilkins' vaccine, so more people will be able to go to these events. But I jest, but the whole point being, hopefully next year we're going to actually see some human beings in the flesh. So having it, knowing now that we can have like Disco Nouveau 2021, and then there'll be more cider makers that do it. And imagine being at Little Pomona's tap room, and they've got like the weekend kind of party. Like that's what's exciting.
That's what I know. That's what they wanted this year.
Yeah. The only reason I said that was a con is because, like I say, I'm on the side of the listener here who might not have tried it. This is now my second bottle, so I'm not beholden to that complaint. But I think as a con, small supply is definitely a con.
Yeah, well, it has to be. Yeah.
But pros, it's fucking lush.
Yeah, and if you can find it, seek it out. I mean, I say mine's sold out, but I've sold that to shops who sell it to customers. So yeah,
look at that label as well.
The label's awesome. Like, the label's so cool. Sick. Yeah,
like this and their what's the other one?
Which one?
The Col.
Called Fondo, yeah.
Yeah, these two together.
I feel like we should be like, I don't know, like roller skating around with this bottle, and with like I could probably get a pretty good Farrah Fawcett hairdo on the go.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know, I could probably skate really well still. Like,
oh no, I mean, I probably could.
I
but,
want to see you roller skating, drinking some Disco Nouveau, Grant. That will be my dream.
Let's do it next year, 2021.
yes, we'll get the roller disco rink up at theirs.
Exactly.
Want to do it at Roger Wilkins' farm? Why not?
Quick one then, guys. As a quick interjection, but it has to be quick. When you went to your roller discos growing up, what was the music there? The song that I remember fondly is Ready to Go. Do you remember that? It's a trap and I'm back, shouting on the rooftops. That played every time at roller disco in Wadebridge Sports Centre growing up. I'll put it in the show notes.
Republica, Scott is saying here.
Yes.
I didn't have roller disco, but I remember going to the ice rink and Waterfalls by TLC was playing.
Yes.
What a tune!
What a tune! What a fucking tune!
Would have been PJ and Duncan. What was it?
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble. Yeah, I was about to say Royal Rumble.
Let's get ready. Let's get ready.
Yeah. Let's get ready to rumble. That'd be it.
That song came up the other day because obviously Ant and Dec with the old fucking I'm a Celebrity. But the lyric that I have a problem with is "Watch us rock the mic, psych." So what they're saying is like, "Oh, we're gonna do this really well," and they go, "No, we're not." It's like that's what the.
Well, they had very high levels of self-awareness and parody at a very young age. They were consummate professionals, Martyn. I think that's what we take from that song.
It's amazing to know that imposter syndrome can affect the roller disco community just as much as it can every other community. So,
including the cider writing community.
Disco Nouveau, then. Brilliant. I can't believe we've gone from Little Pomona, one of the most serious cider makers in the country, and we're ending on PJ and Duncan. And actually analysing their lyrics as well, not just not just a passing comment. It's like, no, let's delve in here. Anyway,
God. Well, I think we can all say we all enjoy it. But where would you, saying you had a bottle of this and you could give it to someone, where would you want them to be on their cider journey? Like, who's going to enjoy this the most?
I think that anybody could enjoy this. I think this is accessible enough for beginner just because of the pure fun and fruitiness of it. And then, with the context a little bit around of Beaujolais Nouveau and the way that they have kind of made it, then it could go for anybody who's sort of well on their cider journey because it's a little bit different too. So I think this, in many ways, is a bit of an all-rounder.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good place to start for Little Pomona. If you haven't had Little Pomona before as well, this and the table cider are two that I think are, as you said, Gabe, fairly easily accessible. And I wouldn't describe all their ciders in that way, and neither would they, I imagine. So yeah, I think it's a good introduction to Little Pomona, and also, yeah, if you're an experienced cider drinker, get it because you'll love it.
Mm. Well, like talking about their range and accessibility and everything, their Dead Flowers is my favorite cider this year. Still, even in this year that has had an infinite amount of ciders, but a lot of my family hated it because it's a big, challenging, bullshit bastard. But that's what I loved about it. But this one, everyone that I've given a sip to has been like, fucking what is that? So it's like you say, it's a great intro to their portfolio because it's not indicative of all they do, but it's a string in their bow. And I think you can get enough from the packaging, the presentation, the drink, the meaning, the language to understand this is someone who makes cider with love.
That's it. Well said, Martyn. So that's our review for this week. Disco Nouveau from Little Pomona. If you can get a hold of it somewhere. Buy as many bottles as you can, I think, because it's going to be going fast. But do you know what? For me, that's not a bad thing for cider right now. Increase a little bit of hype. Let's get people involved. Okay, so that's tasting done. Now is the time for, well, this is very exciting, Martyn's special cider competition. Here we go. All right, so now it's time for the cider quiz brought to you by Martyn Goodwin Sharman, the cider shit. Very exciting. No idea what's going to happen. We've got instructions to have pen and paper and to bring our quizzical minds. Martyn, what's going to happen now?
So you said it, the cider shit. This was this is inspired by your self-love and nepotism, Gabe, and like the idea of promoting yourself. I thought, what can I bring to the table that's as good as Ciderology by Gabe Cook?
Available now.
Let alone modish, not let alone modish British cider from Gabe Cook. Gabe William Anthony John Beckett Cook the third,
the first
in his manor house,
first of his name
with dial up. But I thought about it and I thought, what would be a good game that would put your cider minds to the test in a fun way that Grant might have a chance at as well. So this game is called Who Gives a Shit? So the game, right. Who gives a shit? Can you guess? It's basically my cider posts throughout the years on cider shit. I want you to guess the name of the cider producer.
Ooh.
And the name of the cider from what I've said.
From this year or just...
No. This is from the whole thing. And
will you give us the year and the date of the post?
Yes, I will.
Thank
And
you.
I'll make Grant answer first, so Gabe has some time to cheat. And
excellent, thank you. As pre-agreed.
Hence the I stole your
it doesn't
just
matter.
use a bit of paper.
It doesn't matter anyway, because Scott's going to somehow curate it so that this episode gets binned.
Well, I didn't get...
How dare you? How dare you?
I didn't give him the sound cue or anything to announce it in case he ruined it. So, basically, I went through...
Right, how many have we got?
We've got 4, and there is a tiebreaker. There is a tiebreaker question. But basically, I thought about ciders that might be a curveball, might be guaranteed cider shitisms. So, any questions?
How does the scoring work? Because presumably there's maker and bottle, right?
Yes. So
is that half a point each or what?
We're going to go for a full point each because all that's going to happen is we're going to just get lost in the halves.
You're so stingy, Grant. Just a half each. Well, let's go for the whole one. Come on.
A quarter?
We're going to measure it in apples. So if you get one of them, it's a Dimmock Red. If you get 2, it's a proper cider apple. It's the Yarlington.
Whoa.
So we're counting.
Careful now, my friend. Careful.
Oh, that's such like a bad college actor threat. Careful, my friend. You wouldn't want to find yourself in a tricky situation. So let's go. First drink. I'm looking for the name. I've blanked out the thing, so I'll say cider maker instead of the cider maker's name, and this cider instead of the cider name. And obviously, I want you to just you'll learn the etymology of ore when you hear my prose and my writing. No, I'm kidding. You'll basically, there's clues in there. I've picked ones where the clues are in there. So the first one, it was posted on my birthday, the 24th of July in 2019. So it says, favorite drink from the Cider Salon Bristol, made by one of the nicest guys going. This cider maker's cider is absolutely perfect, doing what cider does well. Floral, wild on the nose, pineapple, and tart with a touch of grip. whacked right out of the park by carbonation that's swinging for the fences. It's got body and it's weightless. Top marks. The National is playing in the background. The sun's low. This drink is divine. UK cider makers take note. If your bottles aren't this dope looking, I don't want to fucking know. So there's quite a lot in there.
I feel like I've seen this recently.
Well, spoiler alert, I have sent all of these to Grant before so that he can...
Okay.
Okay, so if you guys have got your answers ready, put them up.
I can't remember what it was called, but...
So, Grant, what have you written?
I've written Angry Orchard or the Walden Project.
Okay.
And I've written, and it was the one with the ghost on it, but I can't remember what it was.
What have you written, Grant? Gabe?
I've written Angry Orchard Supernatural.
Yes.
Which is the one with the ghost on the front.
Yes. So, 1 point to Grant. You were right, but you weren't right. So, 1 point to Grant.
I wrote Ghost Notes, which I think would have been a better name. So I could maybe get a half a point for that.
I reckon you get a half a point because you've pinpointed which cider it was.
So, Grant, you were on 1.5. Gabe, you were on 2.
Yes.
So,
okay, that's fine. I'm happy with that. That's fine. If I was to lose now, that would be okay.
No, you wouldn't. That's such a lie. We all know that's a lie.
Post number 2. This was posted on September. I'm not giving a date because it is irrelevant. September 2018.
Ooh.
So again, listen carefully to this because there are clues embedded throughout. So there's a beauty to music that lends itself to comparison. I've often sold drinks on a feeling, their place and their intentions, with a song to liken to. This cider maker has crafted something bold and minimalist here, something at odds with itself, and the reward is the joy that comes with delving deeper. After letting it breathe, this cider is straight juice. The carbonation and tannins aren't as bold as their other offerings, and somehow keep this drink deceptively light. Flavor-wise, it's almost juvenile with big apple and melon and a clean finish with welcome acidity. The nose has changed more times than I can count as I've drank my way through a glass, from fresh pressed apple flesh to fruit salad sweets. What a wild glass of something simple. It's juice unplugged.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't read any of your posts otherwise, but I'm pretty sure that I did read that one because the juice unplugged does ring a bell. And I'm just trying to tie on something.
That's a kind of a good clue as well.
Yeah.
Well, should we move on and maybe come back to that?
No, come on. No, come on. Let's get on with it.
You gotta dive in.
I don't know the cider, but I've had a guess on the cider maker.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and lift up your answers. Who have you put? Gabe, who have you put?
Ross and Y.
Oliver's.
Well, if I tell you, you're both wrong, because the cider maker is Little Pomona, and it is Hazy Ways, which was named after a song.
Of course. Juicy. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
So I tried to pick ones
the juice,
like
yes,
the juice.
Yeah, I knew that was a clue.
The musical comparison. After letting it breathe, I guess that was your link there, Gabe. You're like, that's the Thornberry. But that's the thing with, again, that cider was specifically under a lot of stress on packaging and everything. But all of that, the same with the Thorn, it wasn't like a fault that was like tagged along to a nice product. You needed to have that that was like fucking orange juice, that drink. It was sublime. So I just one that I wanted to pick up that wasn't necessarily Gold Rush, because you don't want the exact same thing every time. So number 3,
right.
we're still at 1.5 to 2. Okay. So post number 3, this was August 2018. And now for something completely different. This cider maker has been making some beautiful things since their inception, and with each bottling are getting braver and braver. I've had this guy a few times now, and it's just a beast. Look at the color on that.
Yes.
Softer than the last time I had it. It's big lime on the nose with great acidity, and the lack of tannins leaves the finish short. But there's an almost waxy texture giving it structure. Reminds me of putting too much cordial in my drinks as a kid. Potent stuff that's fruity as fuck and as sharp as I like it.
Oof. Man, this is tough.
Oddly, they're not one that's been on my Instagram that much, to be blunt. Not as much as their product warrants it.
Okay. I think I'm wrong, but
I'm so wrong as well, but I can't work it out.
Because I think the bottle I put down is after August 2018, but fuck it.
Okay. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Come on then. Put their answers up. Grant, who you got?
Find and Foster. Pendragon.
No.
I went Find and Foster as well, but I think Pendragon came out this year. I went for the Method
I knew that.
Traditional.
So I'm going to be blunt. I still think they've got tannins down in Devon.
They do, but
I thought you were saying no tannins. I thought you were suggesting that there should be.
No.
This one didn't have it, but you were expecting it. So that's why I went down that way.
So I think you've both let me down here because it's not that I think you would have read the post, but I thought that you would have thought about it a bit more and thought with the wax, there's a vessel that's lined with beeswax.
Oh, okay. It's the old
it's Starved Crow's Quevery.
The Quevery.
I didn't know that was lined with beeswax.
Yeah, the traditional Georgian one.
Number 4.
Yeah, thank you for being the announcer, Grant. That's really nice. That doesn't get you an extra half point though, but this is for the win. Number 4, the final question. Okay, and listeners at home playing along, you're irrelevant. So, post 4, posted April 2017, revisiting this cider maker last week, and the standout of the range has to be this cider so far. After popping this guy, I wish I hadn't chilled it so much. Opening up as it warmed up, notes of bark and a little nutty character are cut against with acidity and an almost sweet shop sherbet. Carbonation lifted everything out of the glass and made for a drink that should be recognized for greatness. Just believe me and don't judge this book by its cover.
So it's got a crap label.
Listeners at home will be thinking, this section's very boring and dull and drawn out.
The power of editing. Don't worry.
Yeah,
people.
No one is having fun here, and this is like an actual test.
It's because we're both quite competitive, and I really, really want Grant to lose again. Sorry, can I emphasize the again?
I also think with you guys, not that. Let's be honest. The answers so far. Famously, we were all at the cider salon, and the Angry Orchard. That was, you got that. You both got that. Let's be blunt. In fact, I'm going to bump you up, Grant.
Whoa! Hang on.
I think that's fair. I knew what the cider was.
Stuart's decision here is dubious, to say the least.
Well, I've just thought of it then and thought you clearly had that. So okay.
I can't get it. I don't know. All right, here we go.
Okay, and put your answers up. And Gabe first. What have you put, Gabe?
I've got Ross on Y Foxwell.
And what have you got, Gone?
Oliver's Shazam.
It was Oliver's but Gold Rush.
I was going to say Gold Rush.
So, but Grant, technically, you win anyway.
Well, not even technically, even with the dubious extra additional half point. Grant, you are a winner, my friend.
Yes.
Finally.
There you go.
I feel like I've been here before, though.
No, you haven't. No, you definitely haven't. No. Well, what can I say? The best man won. Grant, congratulations. You've finally won a competition. It's taken many months of trying. We're all very proud and happy for you. You know, I'm sure that there's many people that you'd like to thank, but sadly there's not enough time. So that's the quiz for this week, everybody.
Wait. You bested the Ciderologist at Cider Questions. Bravo! There was enough time to do that, Gabe. Come on.
You heard the man. Congratulations, Grant. Well done. Absolutely bested the Ciderologist. Not that I'm bitter or anything much. That's the quiz. Until the next time when I will gain my retribution on Grant, but mostly on Martyn. Yeah.
Well, it's my game next, right? So that'll be you will be pitted against each other.
Oh yes,
bring it on. Yeah. And on that bombshell, thank you all very much for listening to the Neutral Cider Hotel this week. As ever, we've had a blast. We hope that you have learned a little bit more about cider, had a bit of fun along the way, and you know, for the maybe the first time touching some really important subjects in our conversation with Taz earlier on. Definitely. And there's a lot of work to do and a lot of fun to be had along the way. So that's it. We're all checking out the Neutral Cider Hotel. You better all bugger off too. Thank you all very much for joining us. We will catch you next time, and do not forget that if you have not already done so, then please make sure that you subscribe, rate and review Neutral Cider Hotel on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, or listen on your favorite podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram. We are Neutral Cider Hotel. On Twitter, Neutral Cider Pod. And the website is, I'm not going to say www because I got told off last time, neutralciderhotel.com. Everybody, thank you so much. Neutral Cider Hotel checking out. See you next time. Cheers. Bye.